Jodi Eamon here, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Lucetta because Lucetta and I have been friends for a while, and she is the dearest heart. And she has an amazing story that I have been wanting to share with all of you for a long time. And so finally, we sat down and scheduled some time so we could do this interview, and I could share Lucetta with you. Now, Lucetta, I'm going to read this bio here, and you can see her beautiful smiling face as I do it. After raising 6 children and launching them out into the world, a life smack hit that devastated Lucetta Zaytoun. She discovered her husband had fallen in love with another woman, and that led her to put everything she owned in storage, sell her car, shut down her phone, and travel in developing countries by herself for 1 year. And Lucetta's precarious, intrepid, and fascinating runaway journey took her to places she never imagined. Now, Lucetta writes all of these adventures down in her book. It's already tomorrow here, and I just finished reading it, and she's going to tell us all about it. But welcome, Lucetta. Lucetta is now an international speaker, a certified life and leadership coach, and an author. And she's got 2 books that we're going to tell you about. And this is what she told me in the last email. She said, I love my life, all capital letters. So welcome, Lucetta. Thank you so much for sharing that love of life with us. How are you today?
I am wonderful, and thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be here, Jodi.
It's our pleasure. It is our pleasure. So you have these 2 books. It's already tomorrow here, and you're going to hold them up for us.
Sure.
It's already, isn't that beautiful? Her daughter designed this cover. It's just gorgeous. And the newest book, this is what I'm excited about to share with everybody. Her newest book is called Fear Busting 15 Ways to Push Past Fear. Isn't that awesome? This is a book that you could read very quickly and get some great information. We're going to talk about it today. Thanks, Lucetta, so much for coming.
I am so excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's get right.
Love helping.
You have so much to share with us. This is really amazing. So your husband fell in love with somebody else and said he wanted a divorce, and you were like, it was a shocker.
Oh, I was completely blindsided. And I literally hit the floor and curled up in the fetal position for about 6 months because I just freaked out. I mean, raising all those kids, I sat on boards, I did this, I volunteered, I did that. I didn't hold one single thing back for myself. I didn't earn a single penny. I didn't have anything towards a career. And suddenly now I needed one. And I didn't even know who I was, not as a spouse or a mother. Like I completely gave my entire identity away. And so, but fortunately, one night after, 6 months curled up, I had this aha moment and I bolted upright in bed and I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to stay here. I don't have to stay. The kids are grown and gone. I can't heal in this town because I see people I know everywhere I go and it just drags it all back up again. I have to go find me and heal.
And you went to Africa. You went to Costa Rica and Africa and Asia and these amazing places you're going to tell us about. But yeah, how did you find the courage to do? I mean, when you said I don't have to stay here, I mean, that's a huge leap. Like, where did you find this courage?
Well, when I had that moment of decision of, wait a minute, I don't have to stay here. Part of what came with that, making a decision brings clarity, and clarity brings power to it. So when I realized I don't have to stay here, that was a moment of clarity, which came with some power. And then once I decided what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go, because it was like, well, if I don't stay here, where in the world would I go?
Where in the world, indeed.
Yeah, and that ended up being all over the world. But I said, okay, well, what do you want to do? What would you want to do? And that's what led me to go, volunteer in Africa, something I had always wanted to do. But I believe where the courage and the power comes from is in that very simple yet profound moment of decision. Once anyone decides about something, it means you're super clear about it. And it often becomes a no matter what. Like, this is going to happen no matter what, because I have decided and I'm clear.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think people are afraid to make decisions because they're afraid they'll be trapped. But I find, like you're saying, like there's freedom in it. Once you decide, like, there's a freedom in that clarity.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons people are afraid to decide, I believe, is they're afraid to get out of their comfort zone. They're afraid something's going to happen when they're out there.
Yeah.
But the truth is, as human beings, stuff happens to us all the time, even in our comfort zones, but we handle it and we deal with it. So why not handle the stuff that happens while you're going after your dreams rather than sitting and maybe potentially suffering silently in your
Amen,
comfort zone?
sister. I know. Yeah. That's so hard to get through our heads because we're so afraid of getting out of our comfort zone. We feel like we're safe in here. And quite often, we're not safe in there.
No, I mean, I thought I was in my safe comfort zone with all my kids and my husband, and kabam, my entire life was shattered in a moment.
Yeah.
But we handle it. The fact that we're living and breathing and you're watching this today means you have a history of handling whatever happens in your life.
Yes.
So go after your dreams. You're going to handle it.
Yeah. Did you ever think that you would have been able to do this? Like
Oh,
you're
never,
still married?
never in a million years would I have ever thought.
Hold up, it's tomorrow here again because he has look at the look at this cover of this book because you're gonna get the link below, but go get read these stories because you're not gonna believe the situations that Lucetta finds herself in and gets herself out of, and really beautiful. It's really beautiful how you talk about humanity and the relationships and people that you meet. I really enjoyed that part too.
Yeah, I met so many amazing people out there.
Tell me
And
who.
it's called It's Already Tomorrow Here. Because at one point I was Skyping with my parents and I was in Thailand. And my dad was like, well, I better let you go so you can get some sleep. And I said, no, Pa, it's already tomorrow here. And the future looks bright. It's gorgeous. And he goes, well, then I guess I'll be excited to wake up tomorrow. So that's where this title initially came from. But I love that it's multi layered because in our culture, we live such a fast paced life. We're just on the rat wheel all the time. And it's already tomorrow here. Like we never ever live in the present. It's already tomorrow, next week, next month. We are just go, 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 go. And
And it's
you know,
overwhelming.
I
That go,
know
go, go is overwhelming.
it is. It's overwhelming and fearful for everyone.
I
And
wonder
how
if that's why we
wonderful.
have to go to our comfort zone because we're so overwhelmed by all that fast pacedness.
Yes, exactly. And
That's,
how awesome if we could just live in today, enjoy the moment of today, and not be afraid of the future.
it would be wonderful. How do we do that? How do we live in today and not? How do we?
Well, I can tell you that one of my most popular talks that people hire me for, which surprised me, is the title of it is Fear is Stupid 98% of the time.
I love that title. I love.
Now, let me explain why.
That's
Let
gonna
me
be my next.
explain why.
That's gonna be my next book title. I love it.
I'm sorry?
Fear is stupid. I love that.
Oh, yeah, maybe that is my next book title. But at any rate, the reason that fear is stupid is because that 2% of our life we may have that primal fight or flight when our life might be in danger. But the way our culture is set up, that could only happen maybe 2% in our whole life. So that other 98%, here's the thing. If you are worried or anxious or fearful, it's in the future. That means it hasn't even happened yet. And
Hmm.
if it hasn't happened yet, that means you're making up a story about it. So if you're making up a story, why not go to best case scenarios rather than what we humans do? We always go to worst case scenario. And honestly, worst case scenario really almost never happens
Right.
like you would imagine it. So the reason that it's stupid is because it's just a story that we're making up.
Mm.
So if we could just live in today and not be anxious or worried or fearful about the future, because and just enjoy today and be living in the present. Because if something does happen, we're going to handle it. We just
Yes.
are.
Yes. Awesome. I love that. I love that. Do you have like do you have like daily practices that help you live in the present? What are some tips of living in the present that you kind of hold very dear?
Well, I do have time, quiet, and you could call it meditation, although my mind wanders. But I do, try to bring myself into the present and get grounded. And anytime that I start getting anxious or worried about the future, I will just stop myself and go, okay, what's that story you're making up? And how ridiculous is that story? And let's get back to today. Another practice that I do every night before I go to bed and every morning when I wake up in the morning is I'll just lay there for a few minutes and I'll do 10 gratitudes. And I count them on my finger to make sure I don't miss any. But like even at night, I might be in the bed and it might just be, number one, this bed is so comfortable. I'm thankful I have a bed, and my rent is paid for this month, and my tummy is full. I had a wonderful dinner, and bringing you right back to that moment. And when you get back in the present, everything is fine.
Yeah,
Everything is okay.
that's awesome. Um, you tout in this book, this little book, itty bitty, your awesome itty bitty book on fear, 15 ways to push past fear. Could you give us like a cheat? Like, what is one? What's your favorite one of the 15?
Well, I just gave you my
Oh,
favorite, and that is to remind yourself that you're making up a story, that you are. But one of the other things is, here's another crazy thing: fear and excitement manifest in the body the same way. So instead of saying to yourself, oh, I'm so scared about this, and you're shaking and your body's all jangled up, um, if you could change those words to, I am so excited about this,
wow.
because it's the same thing.
Right. I
So
always
you,
say that, like, you jump out of an airplane and or if you get startled, it's the same adrenaline.
yes,
Just think about it differently. You think
it
about it as
is.
a thrill, or you think about it as like the terror.
And it's all a matter of a perspective shift. That's all it takes. And that, and one example of that is when I jumped off the world's highest bungee bridge while I was out on that trip.
Oh my god, tell us about it.
I was deathly afraid of heights my whole life, and there was no way I would have
Why
ever
would you
imagined.
ever do that?
Well, I ended up in a hostel. This young man and I got off the bus at this same hostel, and it turned out we were the only ones there because it was off season, and we were in South Africa. And he said, "Hi, my name is Julian," and I said, "Oh, my daughter's name is Julian." And then I said, "She's 24," and he goes, "I'm 24." And then he goes, "Are you going to do it? Are you going to jump?" And I was like, "No way! I am not crazy, and I'm definitely afraid of heights." And then something happened to me that had not happened in many, many months. I kicked into mother mode because he looked up at me with these big brown eyes and he was like, "Please don't make me go alone. Please, please. I
Wow.
came all the way here to do this and there's no one else here. Please don't make me go alone." So then I started thinking of my daughter and I was like, well, I wouldn't want her to go by herself. So I was all freaked out, but I just told myself, okay, I'll go with Julian all the way to the edge, but there's no way I'm jumping, but I will go and be there with him. But while we were out there getting ready, they called us in groups of 8 and they walked us out, and they had this wire cage that they had stuck to the side of the bridge, which was 216 meters high, which is the same as a 60-story building. And this is Africa. There's no OSHA, there's no trial lawyers waiting at the bottom. So we were walking across this rickety wire cage, looking 216 meters down, and I was about to throw up, scared to death. I was yelling at Julian, what have you gotten us into? So I decided, I put my hands up like blinders on a horse at a race and put my hands right here so that I could only look straight ahead. And that helped a little. But in that 1 second, like just a few moments later, I remembered my one and only reoccurring childhood dream that I had not thought about since I was 5 years old. And that was a dream of flying, like with my arms stretched out, flying over houses and mountains. And I just remembered that dream. And all of a sudden, everything changed for me. I realized this could be my one and only ever opportunity to truly fly.
Oh,
So, in that one moment, that's how fast your perspective on things can change.
wow.
So, I went right out there, and of course, when
Falling
you
to
get out there,
flying.
I'm sorry?
From falling to flying.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And from fear to excitement
Oh, right.
in 1 second. And they called me out there. And of course, they called my number first. But I was really happy about that because then I couldn't renege on my new instantaneous dream. And when I got out there, I flew.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the most amazing thing ever. And I am not afraid of heights at all now.
And if anyone wants to see these pictures, they're right on her front page of her website, Lucetta Zaytoun. And I will put that link below. Zaytoun is Zaytoun.
Yes. And you can actually watch the video of my bungee jump on the website as well.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. So
But,
that's
and I just share that story. I'm sorry if that took a long time, but I share that story to show how incredibly important a perspective shift can be.
so important. It's so important. And I love how like you had that motivation. Like sometimes when we're trying to get out of our fears, I'm I think it's very, very important to have some kind of motivation to do that. Like you were a mother or you were helping him. Often people like put themselves down because they've been told by other people like me, unfortunately, mental health professionals or coaches that they have to do it for themselves. But hey, if we're motivated to do something for somebody else, but it helps us or helps everybody, I mean, that's great. Why do we have to knock that, right?
Well, and that's another thing that I talk about as well, and that is for people to check their motivations. And that is to see, are you being externally motivated or internally motivated? And I'll explain what I mean by that. So initially when I went up there on the bridge, that was an external motivation. I was trying to help Julian and be there. I felt like that's what I should do.
Mhm.
We set our lives up by the shoulds a lot. But in that one moment when everything changed, all of a sudden that became an internal motivation because all of a sudden it became my desire. And so one of the ways to check and be sure that you have less fear is when you get something that's internally motivated. When you're doing it because you want to do it and it's your desire. If it's something that the culture or other people have pushed on you, then there may be some fears that come with it.
That's awesome. That is really helpful to look at it that way. This has been such a pleasure. I want to encourage everybody to go out and get Lucetta's book because it is, first of all, it's entertaining, but it is heartwarming. It makes you really love people again. I mean, when you read the news and all the horror that's going on, it's really nice to realize that there's people all over the world that are just good, open,
Yeah.
loving people that you met. And this fear busting book, I think it's so helpful to people. So I really appreciate that you wrote it. It's going to be so helpful to everybody watching this. And so, Lucetta, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your stories with us. I wish we had like a whole other hour and we could keep going. We'll just have to do it again.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Sorry, that was my son in the background leaving.
It's awesome. We're moms, right? I mean, we're just moms. The last interview, there was a dog. It's great.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me, Jodi. I really appreciate what you are about in the world.
Oh,
You're
thank you,
amazing.
Santa. We'll do a lot more stuff together. And I love you with all my heart, and I love your books and love what you're doing. Also, it's just wonderful. It's like you mothered these 6 kids, and now that you're mothering the world. I really feel that way, and I'm really grateful. So all of you can find Lucetta. I have all the links below to all of Lucetta's stuff. You can hang out with her. And thanks so much for watching, and thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Jodi. I love you too. You're an amazing woman. You're very inspirational.
So sweet.
Take
Well,
care, everyone. Go bold in your life.
go bold. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. And until then, let that you want to be shine through this video. What do you want to do next? If you want to get help with your anxiety, click up there. If you want to subscribe to my channel and keep getting more videos, click right here. And if you want to watch the next video right now, click here.